Okay, welcome back. Solo role Mangging, Phandelver and below. With Tales of Argosa. So we're at the Cragmaw hideout, the second sort of encounter location, and it's certainly a far more dangerous one, I think, than the initial one. Especially with our situation. We got two characters, no magic, and the goblins in there, an unknown number of goblins, have been tipped off that there's something afoot here. And this is gonna be relatively suicidal. In a normal OSR game, you probably wouldn't go into this kind of situation. Granted, you know, there's plenty of times if you're doing an open-ended kind of hex crawl thing where you're under a time crunch of some kind, and you may have to make decisions that you wouldn't normally make if you had unlimited time, you know? That's how it goes. Sometimes, you know, someone is captured or kidnapped or, you know, under duress, and assuming you're playing heroic characters, you might leap into the fray where normally you would back away. Stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean, even if we did back away and we, like, went to Phandelver, we couldn't really do much. We can't really afford to hire anybody, and I thought we could convince anyone, like, hey, let's go take out this whole goblin cave because there might be someone alive in there. That we don't even know if they're still alive. We know they were kidnapped for a reason. So, you know, there's that. So we're assuming someone is alive. But yeah, I guess we want to find out. So, what do we do? Well, the thought that I had is, well, it's not a good thought, and it's gonna go wrong, but nothing we do is gonna go that right. So, the basic thought that I had was basically bum rushing the situation to kind of scope out what's going on in there, how many we're up against, and take them a little bit by surprise, you know? I know, goblins can't be surprised. And so I thought Daria would grab one of the goblin corpses that we just slew and use it as a body shield. And just kind of hold it in front of her as she charges in, and Pax is like kind of clinging to her from behind. To sort of give her cover as she runs in. Because there's going to be arrows. I think we're fairly confident on that. We've seen pretty much all the goblins wielding short bows. It's perhaps a little ridiculous that all the goblins would have short bows and be trained in using short bows. So perhaps inside here in the cave, there's not that many. You know, the ones that were good with short bows were the ones on lookout duty or on ambush duty, because that's where it's most applicable. Inside the cave, you know, they probably aren't planning to use short bows too often. So there's probably like 3 or 4 of them that have short bows. But the rest are all going to be using melee weapons. So that's the plan as I see it. It's not very good. But we'll just have to scope it out. And again, we never want to get into a position where we cannot leave, where we cannot flee. So, keeping an eye out for dead ends or bottlenecks or something like that is going to be important. And it's always tricky, you know, we've done this a lot now of solo RPGs, of trying to not use meta knowledge, you know, as best we can. So obviously I can see the whole layout of the cave, and I kind of know how this is going to go, but I'm trying to play these characters that really would have no idea. Pax definitely looked in, you know, and he saw, you know, this room to the right, and he saw the stream kind of continuing northwards there, but he didn't really see anything past this point. So probably he says that they should try to duck over to the room to the right. He doesn't know what's in there, but it's their best bet. So I think that's what we're going to do. So we're going to move up. Again, the goblins are not going to come out of their cave pretty much for any reason. They understand the home field advantage, and they're not going to leave. Unless, you know, somehow smoke them out or something. So Daria is going to move over across the stream, grab one of the goblin bodies. Now, technically, she's not that strong. She only has 11 strength. And there is a question, I suppose, of how much she could lift and things like that. I think she's, like, encumbered. I don't think she can move. She's moving at, like, half speed, basically. But I think she can carry it. I don't think she could, like, throw it across the room or anything. I wish. But I think she can hold it in front of her. Okay, and then we're pretty much going to... The Pax is going to use her as a body shield. Just holding her belt and clinging to her from behind. And we're going to then rush in. Again, we don't... I mean, the angles here are pretty tight. Even if you have a guy here, I don't think he'd have a shot, because we're just trying to get to this room on the right. So I don't know if they'd see us, and I don't know if we'd see them at this point. They don't really see anything until we get to the top of these steps right here. Pretty much, like, yeah, like right there is probably where I'd allow it. So we don't even see the bridge. We don't know what's the bridge. We just see it slopes up to the right. We probably can see this rubble, sort of a natural cavern that doesn't look used as much toward the left over there. And so maybe we can see that as another cubby to run into. But at this point, we would see into this room on the right, which is the kennel. I actually have the Phandelver and Below PDF here. So we'll be looking at this from now on. Just inside the cave mouth, a few uneven stone steps ascend to a small, dank chamber on the east side of the passage. The cave narrows to a steep fissure at the far end and is filled with the stench of animals. See, I don't even know if we'd see the steep fissure, because we don't have a light currently. 3 chained wolves snarl and rattle their chains as you approach the cave mouth. Each wolf's chain leads to an iron rod driven into the base of a stalagmite. So, 3 chained wolves chained to a single post. They can't reach targets standing on the steps, but all 3 wolves attack any creature that moves into the room. Alright, so they start growling. They start kind of yanking on their chain. This is audible. You know, this is very much audible. So we could try to calm the animals, but I don't know if we're thinking that clearly. You know, these are kind of chained and browbeaten wolves that belong to the goblins, so I don't think we'd really be able to, like, turn them against the goblins or anything. Not without some sort of supernatural ability, I would say. Anyways. Yeah, so I don't think we really futz with the wolves, and I think we are a little wary of the wolves, and we're trying to assess, you know, this is like a very rapid situation. We're just trying to assess everything, and we know there's goblins going to be in here. We can see they got wolves chained up. So I think we're going to steer clear of that. So I think we just kind of glance over there, we see it, and then we're just going to keep going. And here's where it gets a little trickier. Because now we're going to start, rushing up the steps, and that's when we get hit. Or that's when we get shot at. So, I said before there was 4 goblins. Assuming I can fit 4 goblins here. Gosh, they'd be kind of scrunched up. I mean, normally there's only 1 goblin on the overpass. In the shadows of the ceiling to the north. So as if we're using a light source. We are not. So we actually don't see the bridge. We're not going to see the arrows coming. Normally there's only one. Let's get a total count of goblins that are in the interior. So we have 1 that's normally on the bridge. And then the den. There's 5 goblins, 2 goblin bosses. Okay, so we have 8 total we're counting. Blah, 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 blah. 3 more, so we're at 11 goblins. And 2 wolves. 11 goblins. And then we have Flarg and 2 more goblin, his honor guards. They're going to stay. He's going to stay where he is. He's confident that, either his underlings will deal with it or, they'll get to him and he'll deal with it himself. So that's all preset. And I'm not going to change that. So that means really we have 11 goblins and 2 wolves to theoretically contend with. There's also, because this is Phandelver and below, which has altered a few things, there's also a snake. Yes, that's in the Western Passage. Giant poisonous snake coiled on the fragile ledge between the 2 escarpments. Yeah, so there's that. But 11 goblins. So do we want to say 4 of them have short bows and are on the bridge, or do we want to say 3 of them have short bows and are on the bridge? All right, let's go with 3. 3 on the bridge with bows and arrow. Now, that means that, are we saying there's going to be 8 goblins sort of in this region ready to fight us? I don't think so. I think some are going to be over here to protect their prisoner, which is Sildar. Mm-hmm. Doesn't really say why he's being kept here that much. The Clark, the leader, the bugbear, had orders to waylay Gundren. And then this dwarf Gundren was to be sent to the spider. So I don't really know why Sildar is being captive and just, like, tortured. Doesn't really go into that too much. So honestly, I don't know if they would care to protect him in any way or to keep him alive. or to prevent him from being rescued because he's like really important. It doesn't even sound like they know that he knows anything. He does know a few things. But yeah, I don't think they would really care to protect him. So, yeah, I think we may have to say there's 8 goblins and 2 wolves just kind of in this area ready to defend the area. They almost certainly know about this section to the left, this passageway, but they also probably know a big giant poisonous snake lives there, so it's just like, yeah, go ahead, assholes. So they're gonna expect, you know, a fight here. And if we do go that way, you know, we can't get pretty much anywhere without going across this bridge. So no matter what, this is where they gotta go if we want to get to, like, the loot or the boss or anything like that. And also, you know, I'm probably overestimating goblin intelligence. But I don't think they would be any sort of sympathetic towards this guy. Or really think that, like, oh, we're here to rescue that guy and blah, blah, blah. I doubt they've ever gotten attacked here in this cave or besieged in this cave or anything. So this is all relatively new to them. Okay, so let's say 3 our archers are shooting at Daria. She has a 14 AC. We have to decide how much cover a goblin body shield provides. Half cover, meaning any sort of cover that covers at least half of your body, is plus 2 AC. 3/4 cover, so nearly full cover, is plus 4 AC. And then full cover means you can't really be hit by an attack unless it somehow shoots through the cover. I would say, you know, Goblin is 4 feet tall. Daria is like 6 foot tall. And she is kind of crouching and using it as cover. So she's trying to minimize her body. So I would say 3/4 cover is pretty fair here. So I think they're rolling against an 18 AC, which is pretty nice. It's not something you're not going to want to carry a goblin body everywhere you go. But I do think it's advantageous in this situation. Also, I solved my problem with the dice roller. I was using simple dice roller. I needed simple dice roller deluxe. So let's roll 3d20. We got a 5, 17, and 9. Those are 3 misses that all sink into the goblin corpse that we're holding. So that was kind of a surprise. So now we can kind of roll initiative. We failed. So they're gonna shoot again before we get a chance to do anything. Okay, 1 did slip past and land a hit, so that's D6 damage. 6. Ooh. Pretty painful. I could use a rage to cut that in half, but that's... yeah. Fuck. They rolled well. Okay. Would they move up? Well, we should probably... hold on. I had to remake the whole room. There should be... something like that. So we got 3 goblins up on the bridge, 20 feet up. Something like 20 feet. It was something like 20 feet. I think so. Yeah, 20 feet. Alright. Then we've got 8 more goblins. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we also have wolf. And we'll grab a wolf because I know there is going to be a wolf. Good. Couple wolves. Which they probably would kind of put out front, I suppose. Something like that. It's a... It is a pack. It is a fucking pack. Now, we have to keep in mind my rule. We don't want to go somewhere where we can't leave. So, you know, keep that in mind. We couldn't see the far end of this kennel, so, you know, it just looked like a dead end. So I think we're gonna try to hustle over here and go behind cover. And Pax is gonna go here, and he's gonna kind of be behind the wall here, so this is like half cover. And he's gonna shoot out. If he didn't shoot out, he'd have full cover. He'd be behind the wall, but he wants to shoot out to try to shoot one of these goblins. The problem is it's very dark. You know, they're all in the darkness. They're not using any torches or anything because they're trying to use the darkness to their advantage. They've fought enough humans to know how this works and that humans usually can't see in the dark. So, yeah, they definitely are using the darkness to their advantage, but we can see lights coming from further up there, so that's promising to us. So the problem is that we are shooting into darkness, which is not good. A target that is very hard to see, glimpsed in near darkness, or moving in and out of heavy fog or similar is protected by a 33% miss chance against any direct attack. A character who cannot be seen at all due to total darkness, impenetrable fog, invisibility, or similar, protected by a 66% miss chance on all direct attacks, assuming an attacker can narrow down his location by some means. Are we saying they're in total darkness and the light from outside doesn't penetrate at all? Or is there enough ambient light during the day that we could see maybe, like, an outline? I'd probably give them an outline here. So we'll go a 33% miss chance. If I roll a 1 or a 2. Okay, so it just flat out misses. Okay. So, that's going to be the end of the round. And now they saw that we ducked over here to this side chamber. So they are going to now, on their next turn, start moving in that direction. The melee people, at least. So new initiative over to Daria. Terrible failure. So there's going to be 3 shots at Pax. He gets +2 AC, so it's against AC 16. Okay, there is 1 hit for 3 damage. Ow. This isn't looking good. We haven't done anything, and we've taken a total of 9 points of damage. And now they're going to start shifting. So we're going to get few of them to move over in that direction. Would they try to pincer us? No, I think they'd hold position. They're really hoping the archers can just deal with this. Okay, that's gonna be the round for them. So then we have the snake. A giant poisonous snake is coiled on the fragile ledge between the two escarpments. It strikes at any creature that disturbs it, which includes characters scrambling up the slope. Climb a character with a passive wisdom perception score of 13 or higher avoids being surprised. The ledge on which the snake is coiled is unstable. Vigorous motion can loosen the whole mass and send it tumbling to the east. Whenever a character on the ledge tries to move or make a melee attack in this space, that character must first succeed on a DC 10 Dexterity Acrobatics check or trigger a collapse. Triggering character, the snake, and any other creature in the eastern half that is disused passage must make a DC 10 Dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, take 2d6 damage from falling debris. Fall with the prone condition. It's pretty nasty, dude. Pretty nasty. So Daria is going to climb up onto this escarpment. And then she has to roll a perception check. Terrible failure. This is going to be opposed by the snake's dexterity for stealth. So let me try and find some stats for a snake. Snake. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if it's a giant snake, but it's a snake. It's got poison. It's dangerous. Its dexterity is 15. That means that unless I roll a 19 or a 20, Daria's going to be surprised. Okay, definitely surprised. So that means it's going to get advantage on its first bite attack against her. Which is a straight D20, but it's against AC 14. Okay, so it crit, which means it's doing 3 damage and poison. This is turning from bad to worse. So we could roll on the poison table if we want to determine that, but we'll be nice because this is already pretty dire. So we'll do a 1d6 roll on the toxin trauma table, which is 2. And then I have to find the trauma section again, which I continually lose. I guess I have the PDF. That's probably a lot easier. Rather than me just... Toxin trauma is a 2. We got slurring. Target has trouble speaking and cannot cast spells. PC may make a luck save to speak clearly for a moment. Okay, so she's slurring her words after being bit by this big snake. It's not good. Well, she's gonna spend her action to try and kill this big snake. So she'll swing her axe. That is definitely a kill, so she beheads the horrible snake. That's great, but then there's also the fact that this is fragile, unstable territory. So you have to succeed on a DC 10 Dexterity Acrobatics check or trigger a collapse. She does have Acrobatics as a skill. And I do have rerolls, so we really shouldn't fail this. Okay, I'll reroll. Okay, good. Barely. So that was her whole turn. Pax is also going to move up and move through, and he has to succeed on the same roll. He has no rerolls, but he does have acrobatics, so it's very unlikely for him to fail. He just barely succeeded. Okay, and he gets up there. And that's a new round then. So he probably can see and or hear movement coming from that way. And he sees this section, which we can read if we want. This large cave is divided in half by a 10-foot-high escarpment. A steep natural staircase leads from the lower portion to the upper ledge. The air is hazy with the smoke of a cooking fire and pungent from the smell of poorly cured hides and unwashed goblins. Okay. Alright. Then new initiative. This is Pax initiative. Success. Good. That helps a lot. So we see the height advantage there of going up on the ledge, which is kind of nice, but it's not a bottleneck whatsoever. We want to bottleneck them right on like a turn, you know, right where they can't use arrows to their advantage. And we also want to avoid a pincer. So honestly, Daria, like, here is relatively free from being ranged down, but it's not good. And then Pax can move and go up on this ledge. Although that really puts him at risk of being... So if he goes behind this big stalagmite, he gets cover at least. Okay. And then Daria will ready an action for any goblin or whatever that comes up to her. She will swing. This is probably going to be our death. We're really low. Pax will also ready... No, he's pretty much had to spend his... Nah, did he? No, he was already up here, so... Okay, he'll ready an action for anything that comes in view as well. So, the wolf will go first. Pax sees it, and Pax shoots. Miss. Of course. I mean, Pax can't hit the broadside of a barn. So the wolf continues up to Daria, who swings. Pretty sure that's a hit. We didn't really decide on wolf stats. They actually have hit dice of 1 + 2. That's pretty nasty. Let me check the OSE wolf. As I'm sure I've done in the past. No, they do actually hit dice 2 + 2. So their wolves are even more dangerous. Alright, we'll stick with... So that's 6 health then. Alright, so the wolf takes 2 damage. I guess we'll do a minor exploit with Daria to try to, like, send it flying down the escarpment here. To try to do, like, another d6 of damage. So, we'll minor exploit strength versus strength. We got a margin of 0. It failed by 7. Critical fails, so I think we're in the clear there. So we'll send it flying down. And take another d6 damage. 3, that's 5 damage total. It's nearly dead. It's nearly dead. It might cause a morale check there. But, needless to say... Yeah, I guess let's roll a morale check for it. It's got a will of 10. He succeeds. So, I guess he'll climb back up. I don't know if wolves can climb up a sheer cliff like that. But I guess if we did it quickly, a wolf could probably do it. Okay. Then we'll have a goblin step in and swing his club at Daria. Miss. And we'll have 2 more come in. What would they do? Definitely a couple of the lookouts are going to stay on the bridge and keep watch for any more people coming in or anyone trying to run out or something. But we probably would have an archer go this way. And that's not really a shot he could make. The rest of the goblins, I don't know. They might stay where they are. Yeah, some of them might shift over this way. Something like that. Okay, that's where we're at. So then it's a new initiative. Daria's initiative. Failure, of course. So now it gets tricky. If we're treating this as a bottleneck, it's sort of a rough, finicky bottleneck. I don't know if I could really justify counting it as no one can move past here. But this guy's definitely swinging. And he rolled a 16, which is a hit for D6 damage. 5 more damage. He's at 3 health. I think this is going to be the end of us. I can't imagine a wolf not being able to squeeze past here. So the wolf will squeeze past. Misses. At that point, I think it's kind of crowded, so we'll leave it at that. And this guy still doesn't really have an angle that I would allow for a shot, so it is what it is. Okay, Daria, oh boy, you're really gonna have to pull out some shit here. We're gonna have to rage. We're gonna have to rage if we want to live. Now at this point, it's like, okay, we should get the fuck out of here. Pax can see this guy tied up. So if we can clear this area and have like 20 seconds to ourselves, we'll try to free this guy and run, but yeesh. She's gonna have to pull off some raging major exploits. Alright, so she's gonna swing at this goblin. So she's going to rage as part of it. Gonna swing, it's +2 to attack, +2 to damage. That is very much a kill. Obliterated. So she's going to do a major exploit to try to cleave and hit the wolf as well. Which means that this is going to be a luck strength roll. Yeah. Yeah, okay. The luck strength. Terrible failure. Reroll. Terrible failure. Jesus Christ. A terrible failure. A GM improvises a special penalty or setback. I think the wolf has to get a free shot here. So, yep, 18, and they actually roll, I believe, a D8 for their bite, which is nasty. He's almost certainly dead. 6. So now, I will attempt a rescue. Pax will attempt a rescue here to try to shoot the wolf as it lunges for Daria's open neck. So Pax has to succeed on an initiative. Okay, well that's pretty much it. So Daria goes down to 0. And she's out for the battle. There's no getting her back up for this fight. Okay. Jeez. Pax, I guess he'll shoot at the wolf again. Miss. I mean, Pax is probably the worst character that I have ever generated and played as. Has Pax hit anything? Has Pax ever dealt damage? I think maybe I dealt 2 points of damage at some point? Somehow Pax is the worst character I've ever made. This is shocking. On paper, he doesn't seem that bad. He seems relatively average, but somehow he is absolutely abysmal. These two, I guess, deserve to die because they're just terrible. Okay, so I think we failed initiative, which was, yeah, that was part of the problem. So now we get to roll initiative again. Okay, Pax will take another shot. Maybe this'll do it. Okay, natural 19, 3 points of damage. It's enough to kill the wolf. Now I could do a major exploit here, but I don't really know how I would justify. Well, I mean, it's... like, one of the example is you can grab an enemy in each hand and crack their skulls together, stunning both of them. So, really, I mean, it's an incredibly flexible and open-ended thing. You can pretty much come up with anything, and it's up to the DM to be like, yeah, that's okay. So as a major exploit, what I would want to do at this point is just fire like a flurry of arrows, you know, and just like, pew, 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 you know, and try and just shoot as many things as I can. And what I would say as a DM is like, okay, it's going to be a luck perception check. And pretty much for every target after the first additional one, I'd say there's probably going to be another -2 on the roll. So if I just want to shoot at the next guy here, that's just a luck perception check. The next one, though, that would be a perception -2, and then the next one -4. So I have to kind of decide now of how many targets I want to shoot at. So just if I want to try to hit one here, it's going to be, I have to roll 12 or under. If I try to go for all three in one big flurry of arrows, I'd have to roll 8 or under. I think go for broke. Fuck it. If Pax is going to shine, it's got to shine. He's got to shine in this moment. So let's go for broke. We're going to roll luck perception, -4. Go. Terrible failure. Well, I wouldn't have succeeded regardless, so it doesn't matter. Terrible failure. GM improvises a special penalty or setback. So we'll say that the guy counterattacks with no penalty to his roll. Okay, roll a 2. Okay, so we used our rescue. We used our major exploit. We're pretty much screwed. Because now they're going to be moving in. So we'll say this guy gets to move up here. This guy moves up to here. This guy's going to move here and take another shot. This will be at the plus AC of 16. Okay, he missed. New initiative. Great success. Awesome. I guess, fuck it, I'll drop my short bow and whip out the short sword and try and stab this dude. Miss. I mean, of course. Pax will never succeed in an attack for the rest of his life, which is not going to be for very long. That's pretty much it, unless I want to try to make a bolt for it. Which I guess I could, but honestly, I don't even want Pax to survive. This is atrocious. So we'll just hold our ground. And yeah, they're gonna go. So this guy will swing his club. Miss. This guy will shift around over here. He gets a +1 for kind of flanking. He also misses. Okay, and then the guy with the short bow shooting also miss. All right, it's working out. Sort of. Pax is gonna roll initiative again. Good. He's gonna try to stab one of these bastards. Well, we decided an 11 AC. Okay, so we hit him. Then we said 5 HP, so he's got 4 left. I guess we'll try a minor exploit to try to shove him off this thing and take D6 more damage. So strength versus strength. Terrible failure. Oh, wait a minute. We actually have to check this. We failed by 5. Although, I don't know, did I declare that if you fail your roll, there's just no way you can succeed? No, I don't think I like that. I think it's always by the margin of success. I think that's more interesting. So they have a strength of 7. He failed by 13. So yes, it succeeded, and we'll shove him down off the ledge. He takes D6 damage. 1, of course. Pax finally hits and just can't do anything! Okay. This guy will swing his club. Miss. This guy will climb back up. Miss. This guy... Would he move to a position? I don't think he'd move to a position where he can is out in the open. So I think he'll stay where he is and miss. I feel like the other goblins would start to come along at this point to see what the hell's happening. Something like that. Okay. Pax initiative. Great success. Go for the injured one, I guess. Crit. Okay, Pax finally killed. Eventually it happens. That's pretty much all I can do. Yeah, bucket. Bucket. Alright, the guy's swinging his club. He will hit. For D6, 2. Shooting the short bow. Miss. New initiative. No, I mean, I guess they'd be moving in at this point. Pax sees the end of his life approaching. He rolls his short sword. He misses. Of course he does. I don't think I didn't even roll initiative. It doesn't matter. I think we can call this. It's over. Pax can't retreat at this point, and he's dead. Yeah, I think that's it. Shit. Well, as I said at the start of this was a suicidal plan. Lack of plan, really. I mean, we had an okay start, but there's just so many goblins. They were on alert. I really should have just chilled for an hour, but I was trying not to metagame it. I mean, in a metagame sense, we know that we could wait weeks and Sildar would still be there, 1 HP, waiting to be rescued. But really, our characters assumed someone had just been kidnapped and was still alive and needed to be rescued. I mean, this would have been infinitely easier if the goblins weren't, like, all ready to go. And obviously, the module's not intended for that. But I'm trying to run this, you know, more realistically, like an OSR game should be. So, yeah. It is what it is. Alright. Well, that's that. That's the closing the story on Daria and Pax. They did not live too long into Lost Mine of Phandelver. Okay, so let's say that happened. let's say you were playing a game. Let's say you were playing this normally, D&D 5th edition, and you all wiped in Cragmaw Cave, Cragmaw Hideout. What would you do? Doesn't really say. It does say during the goblin ambush, in the unlikely event that the goblins triumph, they leave the characters unconscious, loot them in the wagon, then head to the Cragmaw hideout. The characters can continue to Phandelver, buy new gear at Barthen's Provisions, return to the ambush site, and find the goblins' trail should they wish. So that suggests that, again, no matter how long you take, you can kind of just continue as written, and Sildar is still there as written. You know, so... how would we pick things up? Let's see. What would... we were with Thistle, right? And he was bringing... I mean, he was just waiting. Like, he could just go on to Phandelver, but he was just waiting there for us. So after a few hours or so, I mean, eventually he'd be like, fuck this, I'm going to Phandelver. Now, we could say that he gets ambushed by something else along the way, and he dies, or something. And if you really wanted to be lame about it, you know, you could just restart and like, well, there's, you know, the Gundren. Well, Gundren is gone, so he can't recruit anyone. So you can't really do a full reset here unless you wanted to just... okay, let's wipe the slate clean, let's start over, let's do this again, and you redo the goblin ambush, and you redo everything, and blah, blah, blah. And you could do that. But say you wanted to not redo the goblin ambush. How do you pick this up? Well, basically, you'd have to get a new set of characters that have some reason to go to Cragmaw Hideout in pursuit of this situation. And I think the only way to really justify that is that they're sent in to rescue Sildar. It's not good. I mean, a TPK here in this spot, or really ever, is very rough for a narrative-based campaign. And whatever we're going to do here is against sort of the whole spirit of the OSR. Because the whole point of, you know, playing an OSR kind of game is not to have, like, plot threads that you have to patch back up in case of disaster. Like, that's just not the whole point. So really, this would be just the end of this plot. You wouldn't even had a plot to begin with, but it would be the end of this plot. But yeah, I think if we're trying to mend it, we have to have some reason to go and rescue Sildar. And to try to continue the narrative as written, we still have to be somewhat concerned with Gundren as well. So I think perhaps the best way to do it is that we are our two new characters, whoever they are, will actually be in Phandelver, and they were supposed to meet Gundren there. You know, they were supposed to meet up with him because he's going to need a lot of adventuring help. You know, maybe these are old friends of Gundren, whatever you want to do. And, you know, they were supposed to meet up with him there. And obviously this is like sort of Schrodinger's thing where they weren't actually ever in existence until these other two characters died. But you always gotta kind of hand wave some stuff. So they were meant to meet Gundren in Phandelver, and he obviously never showed up. And so now they're concerned, and they go and investigate the road from Neverwinter, because that he was supposed to be on, and they find his dead horses and the missing the empty map case and so on and so forth, and they follow the same trail that leads to this cave. And that pretty much allows you to pick up the thread as written for the most part. The two new characters wouldn't really know anything more than our other characters about what Gundren is doing here. They're just kind of maybe old friends of his. They helped him out of a jam some other time, and he's like, "Oh, meet me in Phandelver. I've got big news. I got big things stewing. all that sort of stuff. You know, meet me in Phandelver on this day, and he wasn't there. So I think that's what we would do. So let's make our 2 new characters. You know, I don't know how much magic would have solved this situation. I don't know how much we were really penalized by not having magic. But I do think our barbarian was basically useless. I mean, in comparison to a fighter, I'm saying, what did we really get? Basically, we saved on a couple of equipment slots with light armor that's as good as medium armor, and we didn't have the -2 to stealth and swimming, but that never really came up. And then we had the rage, which is really just the +2 to melee attack and damage rolls, and luck rolls. And luck rolls. Did I count for that when I did my major exploit? I rolled a 17. That wouldn't have done anything. It would have probably not been a terrible failure. The terrible failure did lead to the wolf counterattacking. It might have changed something, but I think the end result is still going to be the same. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the rage is, like, that good in comparison to everything the fighter gets. Especially because it never increases past +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls. Which is fine. But, yeah, considering that a fighter at level 1 is going to get a crit on 19 or 20, and is going to be able to use all weapons and armor, and is going to be... have adaptable, which could be pretty damn useful. There's a bunch of adaptable stuff that's really good, like we saw with like long reach, where if you have a spear, you can just make a free attack when you first engage a foe once per battle. So, I don't know. The Barbarian, it doesn't really impress me too much, I gotta be honest. I wouldn't mind seeing the Barbarian rewritten to be a little bit more exciting. A little bit more, maybe, risky. But for, like, a kind of high-risk, high-reward melee sort of stuff is what I'd like to see out of the Barbarian. And I don't know if we really get enough of that at all. Alright, so what we're gonna do, I guess, is... I'm just gonna pick random. We're gonna roll dice. So we have 9 classes. So we're just gonna roll 1d9 and just take what we get. So we got a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is magic user, of course. I can't stay away from magic for too long. So we're gonna have a magic user and 2 magic users. That could work, but it's not super interesting. There you go. Barbarian. Fine. Fine. We'll give the Barbarian a second chance. Fine. Maybe this new Barbarian, the stats will be better, and it'll just be better. The Barbarian doesn't have to use a great axe, and a shield would be nice. So, I don't know. We'll see. Alright, let's create a new character. We'll go with a male Barbarian this time. And his name will be Grognan. Okay. And then we'll have a... Yeah, we'll do a female magic user, I suppose. Bertrice. Okay. Fun stuff of making characters. Alright, so we're gonna have to look at templates again. We're gonna be human again, because it's easy. Let's do backgrounds. For Grognan, we got 2-1, which is a galley slave, +1 will, and the watercraft skill. I think that's a reasonable thing. And for Bertrice, real quick, it is a swineherd, +1 perception. Could be reasonably good. Okay. Skills. So you get watercraft. The swineherd gets animal lore. Okay. Attributes. Let's do it. So we have to go con again for Grognan. 5d6. Has to be our main thing. Again, shit. 13. Doesn't even qualify for Barbarian. Yet. 4d6 strength. 12. Some garbage ass rolls, man. 46 then. Will? Dex for AC? Will is too fucking good to pass up, I think. So, Will. Holy shit. A 6. Fuck me, I hate this character already. 3d6 Dex, 10. 3d6 Int, 10. Great. Perception, 13. And Charisma, 14. Okay, well. Again, we can bump something up to 15. And then we can swap one. We did allow that. So obviously we're going to bump Will up to 15. And then swap it with Con. It gives us a relatively positive character. I just wish my strength was higher. Alright, it's fine. Okay, and then, yeah, I mean, we're really, like... Basically, I'm being very generous, I think, with stat rolling, because I'm doing a lot of Tales of Argosa stuff, where you have to have a 13 and a 15, and you can bump stuff up to meet that, and then you can swap two, if you want. But Tales of Argosa is 3d6 down the line, and so I'm instead augmenting that. But it's like, fat lot of good it fucking does me. I rolled 4d6 and got 6. So it doesn't really matter. I thought I was being nice. I mean, it's a pretty decent character, all things considered, but... I mean, like, if we did Bertrice and we did 3d6 down the line, it might be relatively similar. But okay, let's do 5d6 for Int. Okay, that's pretty solid. 16 Int is pretty much what we would want. Then 4d6 Will for sure. Which is going to be 11. That's not great. And then 4d6 probably... maybe Con. I mean, health is good. Alright, we'll do Con. 4d6 Con. That's pretty solid. That's 14. So we're not going to be able to bump anything up. This is set in stone. 3d6 strength. Nice. Dex. Nice. Perception. Shit. That's terrible. And charisma. Okay, I really actually wanted a good perception, so we might swap. 12, 6, 6, and 11. What would we swap? Possibly charisma. Yeah, I think charisma. We'll make her unlikable. But then remember, the galley slave gets +1 will. Whoops. And the swineherd gets +1 perception. So that helps. Because humans also then get +1 reroll and +1 to 1 attribute, as long as it's not above 16. So I'm gonna bump. God, will is also good, especially for a spellcaster to recover. But we'll get a +1 perception there. For Grognin, strength for similar reasons. Okay, I think that's fine. We got 16 strength over there, health 15 over here. It's fine, it's fine. 11 luck, so on and so forth. And we can then roll our templates. So let's do Barbarian templates. 3d6. 8 on the lower end. Sea Rover, Berserker, Tribal Warrior. Sea Rover would get a spear, a battle axe, and a shield, and a short bow with arrows, and 6 gold, and leather armor. I mean, that's pretty much everything we could want. Surprisingly, quite a bit there. Yeah, Sea Rover is probably what we want. Unfortunately, Watercraft we already have, so it's a little lame, but still. Skills. Athletics. Wilderness lore. Gather information, and stealth. His stealth's not super great, but, you know, it's something. We're not going to be able to carry all this, I wouldn't imagine. But I like the idea of spears. Spears are pretty good. Let's see. Compared to a battle axe. A battle axe will do 1d8 damage. And have a 1d8 plus 4 blade trauma on it. The spear is going to be 1d6 plus 1 damage with 1d12 blade trauma. It is also a second rank weapon, but that doesn't really matter. Okay, I think we're going to go with battle axe then. I think that's fine. I mean, obviously I could have both, but these kind of, you know, the space is tight. Tight. Can't really carry everything. We will grab the short bow, though, which is going to be 2 slots. And, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And then we get leather armor, which I will make. Well, I don't really have to make it. We can just put in light armor, adjust it, call it leather armor. And the slots will be... yeah, it doesn't matter. So this is equipped, and it is going to be a 4 AC. Okay. And we also have a shield. Yep. That's all correct. And then we take up 2 slots with that, so... You know, it all adds up pretty quickly. 2 slots from my armor, so I do have to make the dummy... Dummy. Okay, so then we have 7 slots left, which is pretty good. Pretty good. So we can grab the... well, we could add arrows. That technically counts. Well, I mean, yeah, we want to have it for ammo rolls. Leather armor, 50 feet of rope, grappling hook, 1 week ration, 6 gold. Yes, grappling hook, rope, and 1 week's of rations. Yep. Change that to 7. And 6 gold. If I wanted to spend any of that, now would be the time. Because we are hanging out in Phandelver at the moment. So we could buy certain things, such as torches. And I will make my tinderbox item as well, which we were putting at 0 slots, because I think it's relatively minor. Okay. That's pretty much it. Also, my class abilities. Barbarian. Ferocious Rage, Wildborn. That is everything, I believe. $17 health, because I was a barbarian. That's right. That's good. We're good. We're done. We're good. All right, then be Bertrice. We have to roll a template. Let's roll template. 10, right? Where it usually is. Okay, so that qualifies us for Elementalist, Occultist, Necromancer, Hedge Wizard. Elementalist is pretty solid. Usually what you want. Occultist would give us the ability to conjure a little demon, which is fun. Necromancer, we could make sort of very basic undead. Hedge Wizard, we could get Beguile, Humanoid, and Auditory Illusion, which are, you know, don't shit on that. That's not too useless. Especially Beguile Humanoid. You can do some fun stuff with that. But Elementalist, you know, depending on what element we go for, we know Earth's Excrescence is pretty good. But let's go for air. Let's get Thunderclap and Weave Smoke. Fuck it. Magic user, Spellcraft, Sense Magic. You sense magic. Okay. So technically this is Spellcraft Tier 1 or Level 1. However you want to do it. And like I said, I've ripped out Tales of Argosa spellcasting entirely. So we're not using that system. We're using Axe. So this is the progression. So at level 1, you get 1 level 1 use At level 2, you get 2 level 1 uses. At level 3, you get 2 level 1 uses, 1 level 2 uses. And you can recover, you know, 1 use per recovery thing. It eventually scales kind of beyond what Tales of Argosa has, but, you know, Tales of Argosa, you get 1 use per level, you know, so you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So up to level 6, it's pretty much equal. Tales of Argosa doesn't have leveled magic, though. It's all levelless. So there's no level 5 spell or something. It's all just magic. Some spells, like damaging spells, do progress based on what level you are. So, like, the equivalent of, like, the fireball spell will do more damage if you are a higher level. But it's all just one use of your magic ability. This differentiates it based on the level of the spell, which I tend to prefer, but I don't think there's anything horrible about levelless magic, and I don't think there's anything that horrible about Tales of Argosa magic. It just didn't quite... I just like a little higher fantasy than what it offers. And I know this is a game that's called low fantasy gaming. I know. Anyways. It's still relatively low fantasy because you do have to make a spell check to succeed on a spell, and it might just fizzle. And if you roll a natural 20, you do have to roll on the dark and dangerous magic table. So I still kept that in a little bit. It's not nearly as much as the game is normally, where you roll on it like all the time from casting magic. Here it's only on a fumble, but it's still there. Right. So then we have to add our spells, and these are custom spells. So we're going to go with Thunderclap and Weave Smoke. So we're going to go over to Axe, to Spells, Spell Description, Spell Index, Thunderclap. There's a lot of spells. Pretty much every spell you could want. Thunderclap. We'll get there. Thunderclap. Range of 90 feet. Instantaneous. A deafening peal of thunder resounds at a point to the caster's choice. The thunderclap is so loud it can be heard as a low rumble by creatures up to 10 miles away. At level 1, baby. High fantasy. Each creature within 5 feet of the thunderclap must make a blast saving throw. If the save fails, the creature suffers 1d6 damage and is deafened. If the save succeeds, the creature suffers half that damage but is not deafened, though its ears may ache and ring. A deafened creature is easy to sneak up on and suffers a -2 penalty to surprise rolls. It can be backstabbed by an opponent outside of its line of sight as if the creature was sneaky. Oh. Huh. Due to its inability to hear itself, a deafened creature has a -4 penalty on any throws that require vocalization, such as using magical music proficiency. Deafened creature can make another saving throw at the end of its initiative each round. If the save succeeds, it is no longer deafened. Okay, so it deafens, but also does some damage. It's all good, baby. Why did you copy it like that? That's terrible. Oh, I hate when it does this. Okay, so the only thing there that requires adjustment, as you may have noted, is that it calls for a blast saving throw. Tales of Argosa does not have blast saving throws. Fortunately, it's relatively easy to correspond all of the OG kind of saving throws to Tales of Argosa luck checks. And I have that in my document at the bottom here. So a paralysis becomes luck constitution, death becomes luck willpower, blast becomes luck strength, implements becomes luck dexterity, and spells becomes luck intelligence. roughly corresponding. And it's not really... I mean, I get it. The old school way of these saving throws is not ever really to specify how you're making a saving throw. You know? Like a blast saving throw. The fighter is going to defend against a blasting kind of attack differently than a magic user might defend against the blasting attack. And so it's all lumped into a blast save rather than like a strength roll. So it's not perfect, but it will work for most purposes, and it's... Yeah, I like the axe spells otherwise, so we're just rolling with that. Okay, so 90-foot range, targets within 5, luck, strength, save, or 1d6 damage and death. It's pretty much fine. Okay. Yeah. Alright, and then we have Weave Smoke. Could be very useful in a cave with goblins. So let's see. Alright, lengthy description there. Range of 180 feet. Lasts for 2 turns. Not 2 rounds, 2 turns, usually about 20 minutes. Spell allows the caster to manipulate an existing volume of fog and or smoke into a different shape. In order to weave smoke, the caster must concentrate. Concentrating caster can move up to 1,000 cubic feet of smoke by up to 100 feet each combat round. Caster does not need to maintain concentration to sustain the spell. For instance, he can concentrate for 1 round to weave smoke, take another action the following round, and then resume weaving smoke in subsequent rounds. Caster cannot weave the smoke so that it appears where objects or creatures already are, nor can he weave it to impact creatures. In addition, the smoke cannot be woven to be less than 1 foot thick. Subject to those limitations, the caster can weave the smoke into almost any shape he desires. If the caster has a relevant art or craft proficiency, he can even weave the smoke into decorative sculptures with intricate detail. If woven to at least 6-inch thickness, woven smoke will block vision, and if woven to 1 foot thickness, it will block both vision and light. Smoke never presents an obstacle to movement or magical effects, except for those requiring line of sight to target, of course. Once woven, the smoke can still be affected by water or strong winds, like an ordinary cloud of smoke, though other attacks will have correspondingly little effect on it. A counterspell, disintegration, or dispel magic spell can disperse the woven smoke instantly. It will otherwise dissipate in 1 turn. The spell does not create the smoke itself, so it must be cast on morning mist, banks of fog, smoke from fire, etc. Whew! Well, it's certainly not the most incredible spell to ever be a spell. But we can, the key thing there for our purposes, most of the time, I would say, is that we can move up to 1,000 cubic feet of smoke by up to 100 feet each round of combat, which means we can move massive amounts of smoke pretty quickly every round. So for like our cave situation here, I could see building like a big bonfire out front here, designed to just make a shit ton of smoke, and then just continue to weave it for like 20 minutes and just funnel it into the cave. I could see that being potentially useful, because we could just move massive amounts of smoke. It would have to be quite the bonfire, but I mean, in that situation where we know they're on alert in there, they're not going to come out, we have some time to just sit out here and do this. I think that's reasonable. Other things you could do with it is like this image shows here of just like kind of creating some sort of intimidating display or something, or trying to fool something, or, you know, I've summoned this massive smoke elemental. The biggest problem, of course, is you have to supply the smoke. You can't make smoke, so you have to cast it on morning mist, banks of fog, smoke from a fire, etc. But on a foggy morning, Weave smoke? Holy shit. I mean, you could really summon something up here. It's not amazing. I think we'll probably get more mileage out of Thunderclap, but it's here. How do I want to summarize this? Something like that. I mean, it's all... something like that. Okay. That's good. That's good. And then, let's go back to this. We get some skills, of course. Get Arcane Lore. We get Apothecary. Watercraft. Detection and General Lore. Detection is very nice to have. And then for gear... well, what do we get? We get Spellbook, we get a Gnarled Oaken Staff, 5 darts, some clothing, quill and ink, and a week of ration. Drag this ration over. Quill and ink, is that even written here? No, of course it's not. Why would it be? Why would it be? So we have no armor. And we get a quarterstaff, I guess. Staff, yeah. Brilliant. We're going to want a ranged weapon of some kind. We do get 5 darts, but I don't even know if they put darts in. No, they don't have darts. I mean, darts would basically just be a sling that do 1d4 damage, probably range of far, and then like 1d6 missile trauma or something is probably what I would say. I think this is all something we determined last time we did this. So this is a weapon, battle gear, common, 5, consumable. Technically, yes, I suppose it is. They might be recoverable, though, but we'll mark it as consumable. Details, ranged, blah, 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 one-handed, damage 1d4, natural 19, missile trauma 1d6 is what we'll say. It's good enough for me, good enough for you. Equipped. Done. Whoops. 1d4 damage, 1d6 missile trauma. Far range. Done. Quill and ink. Quill and ink. I want to see it in game. Gear. Pack gear. Done. It's kind of all he has, really. But he does get 60 gold pieces. Hot damn. We can buy anything we fucking want. And we do want. We definitely want, because magic users can wield light armor, so we gotta buy leather armor. We could upgrade to a light crossbow if we wanted to do that. That would cost like 30 gold or something. And the problem with that is you have to reload it as an action, but it is quite a bit more damaging. It's 2d4 plus 1 compared to our 1d4 darts. And the problem with 1d4 dart is that it's not likely to kill anything in one shot. So, would I rather throw 2 darts, or would I rather kill something the first round and then reload the second round? Probably go for that. So, let's buy a crossbow. So we go up here to equipment. Crossbow, 30 gold. Now I'm only using axe weapons mostly for their prices. We're taking all the other information pretty much from Tales of Argosa for like damage values, range values, natural 19, other properties. I'm just using these prices because I don't like Tales of Argosa's money system or any of it. I don't like any of it. So, yeah. Yes. So, 30 gold for the crossbow and 2 gold for the case of 20 bolts. So, 32 gold. Gone. Gone-arino. But gives us that sweet, sweet crossbow. Whipped. And we need bolts. But it doesn't differentiate it, just calls them arrows because it's dumb and stupid. Didn't even take it. Okay, arrows. We'll call them bolts. Ammunition for crossbows. I can type. Good. Good. Anything else we don't... Oh, yeah, leather armor. That costs 20 gold. So, yeah, we certainly spent our money. But he's kind of ready for war. Leather armor, we can just copy over from here. Except then we have to drop this down to 2. Because we are not a cool barbarian that gets cool barbarian stuff. Putting our AC at 12. Yeah. Alright, I mean, are we pretty much done? Is there anything else I'd want to buy? I mean, there's always loads of stuff you might want to buy. Like caltrops, marbles, a tarp. Tarps are really valuable. You got a tarp or something, or... I mean, parchment. I have a quill and ink. I don't have parchment. So, parchment would set us back. It's not even written there. There's a journal for 10 gold. But I just want loose paper. Shockingly, I don't see it. How are you going to have ink and quill and journal? I don't know what a quintain is. But you don't have just, like, parchment. That seems kind of lame. What is a quintain? Device for training cavalry troops in lance and sword techniques. Consists of a shield or plank mounted on a swiveling pole. Oh, it's called a quintain. Yeah, they don't have... They don't have, just the price of parchment. They mentioned parchment a few times. Like, a journal is 50 pages of parchment. I guess I'd have to just come up with a price. I'm sure there's a D&D 5e price for parchment. Parchment, 1 sheet costs 1 silver. I think that's pretty fair. You could also take the journal price and divide it by 50. It's not quite the same because I assume the journal is bound in some form. But it's pretty close. What did a journal cost? 10 gold. So 10 gold, that's 100 silver divided by 50, it's 2 silver. Give or take, you know, charge extra for binding and all that. So sure, let's say 1 silver per parchment. Now, how much parchment could I carry in a slot? I don't know. 50? Although a journal takes up 1/6 of a stone. So I'd say 50 is reasonable though, and I'd say a journal takes up 1 slot, so you know. We'll put it even there. You gotta simplify some things here. So 50 parchment to a slot. So if you wanted to fill a whole slot with parchment, that's gonna cost 5 gold. I don't really need that much. I just want a handful of... We'll buy 10 pieces of parchment. Because you never know. And then I have to make that as an item. Parchment. Back here. Yeah, just I mean, why would I have quill and ink and nothing to write on? Seems appropriate. Other things I saw that could be useful is the bedroll. You want to give a spend money on a bedroll. D&D 5e charges. Oh, and I think we said like 2 silver was what we were spitballing. D&D 5e goes for 1 gold. Seems a little extreme. So 2 silver for a bedroll. Alright, fine. And we'll buy Grognan a bedroll as well, because we're nice people. Beyond that, I mean, there's so many things. I don't see caltrops listed. Or marbles, which are usually things that you'd want to have. Neither of those listed. Again, I guess I'll look at D&D 5e. Caltrops. 1 gold. They can be recovered. Takes 10 minutes to recover all the caltrops. So you could reuse them. Alright, fuck it. Yeah, let's buy some caltrops. It's gonna be another thing I have to make. Oh, that's what I want. Large canvas. Yes. And that costs just a couple silver. Let's buy caltrops and a large canvas. You never know when you could use a tarp. Trust me. Trust me. Caltrops. Gear. Act gear. Common. 1 slot. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't really need to come up with the rules for it yet, but there you go. All right, so we've got a couple free slots on Bertrice, a couple free slots on Grognan. Not perfect, but that's usually how it goes. Okay, I think we're all done with that. Yeah, video's running. That's not, I mean, I've done like 3-hour videos, so it's kind of okay. All right, so we are gonna start. I think we can delete all those characters. They're gone. They're gone, gone, gone. Although they have loot on them, so I might not want to. Not really. I don't know what loot they'd have. Maybe I'd grab their crowbar and the cheese wedge, but goblins probably ate the cheese wedge. Damn goblins. And I think we're gonna be arriving on the scene not that long after this whole debacle. I think the goblins will have calmed down by this point, because obviously the threat is over and it was just two suicidal idiots. But yeah, I don't think we're arriving long after. To the point of, I don't think they'd have. Would they have replaced the lookouts? Their numbers have dwindled a little bit. How many did I kill? I killed one goblin. No, I killed 2 goblins. And there were 11 inside. So they're actually down to 9 goblins. Not counting the dudes that are in the boss's room. So 9 other goblins. I think they would replace the lookouts, though. That's kind of an important duty. So two of the 3 ranged individuals are going to be replaced on lookout duty. Because that's like the first time they've ever been attacked. And, you know, the lookouts died, but they did warn the others that there was trouble here. So, yeah, they probably care to replace the lookouts. I need to pick new images. And I'm never gonna... I'll do that later. I'll do that on my own. We'll find good human images. Right, so we would find the ambush spot. We'd follow the trail. And we arrive here. And I think it was relatively early in the day when we first got here. So it's probably like 3 p.m. or something when Grognan and Bertrice arrive on the scene. Grognan does have the stealth skill. Bertrice has a higher dex, but having the skill is usually better than a slightly higher attribute. So I suppose Grognan, you know, he sees obviously the trail, the footprints lead here. We see the other footprints from the other characters kind of lead here. Probably he would actually see blood still on the sand here, because we killed Goblin like right here or something. We kind of moved his body and lifted his body and stuff. So probably there still would be blood here. So we see trouble. And we can kind of smell death and Goblin coming from this cave. So I suppose Grognan will sneak up to try and scope out the situation and get closer to the blood. So let's roll our stealth +1. Failure. Now this, again, usually this should be a secret roll by the DM, even though I have yet to actually do that when I'm DMing. Just because I know players like to roll stuff. But yeah, it should be a secret roll, so you don't know if you failed or not. But then it kind of goes against Tales of Argosa thing of re-rolling, you know. Because the reroll is a very player-centric choice. They know that they failed, and it's up to them if they want to spend a reroll to not fail. That being said, they don't know the consequences of the failure. They would say, I sneak up there, and I say, okay, roll a stealth. They don't know if there's something watching them or trying to see them or not. In this case, there is, and there are consequences of failure. But you wouldn't know. I'm going to have Grognan reroll, partly because I know, and partly because I think most people would want to reroll that. This is a tentative situation. We still are probably going to fail. 50-50 odds here. 55-45. Yep, still fail. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, still fail. Fuck. Alright, fuck it. So the Grognan gets noticed at this point. Or, you know, somewhere along the way, like maybe here or something like that. So here then is where I would say you can go one of two ways. You could have the goblin lookouts just ambush Grognan as punishment for failing the stealth. Or you could have Grognan at that point roll a perception to kind of become aware that there is something on the other side that is now like getting into position. And so you flip it and have... Well, no, I keep rolling dex on its own, but this should be an opposed check, so it should be based on their perception. So their perception is 11 as well. So, okay, well, there you go. So they failed now by 3 compared to Grognan's 1. So I actually would have succeeded the first time before the reroll. But I think that's even better then, when you do an opposed check like that, because then the players don't know how well they have to roll. They know they didn't roll well, but maybe they rolled well enough. You know, maybe the enemy's really not perceptive. Okay, so we're actually not detected then, and we get up to this point. And again, I don't think I'd roll... I'd have to roll a perception at that point. I think you would be able to see the goblins. Although I feel like these goblins are now going to be on edge a bit more. So... maybe I should have been a bit harsher there on their perception. Maybe I should have given them advantage because they're looking for danger. Alright, I'll give them advantage. I hate to do it to myself, but they would be on edge now. They just got attacked. The last 2 lookouts got butchered. So, you know, they're on edge. Okay, so they do succeed. So at this point then, alright, so they see him. So, okay, we go back to the usual question. Do I give Grognan a perception check to notice them kind of getting in a position to shoot? Or are they just primed and ready and just see, oh shit, fire? What does the module say for this ambush? Probably catching the characters by surprise. If the goblins don't notice the characters in an area H1, they spot the characters splashing across the stream and neither side is surprised. Characters moving carefully or scouting ahead might be able to surprise the goblin lookouts. Have each character who moves ahead make a dex stealth check. Lowest check is the DC for the goblins' wisdom perception checks to avoid being surprised. So yeah, I think in this case, says they probably catch the characters by surprise, if noticed. That suggests there's a chance they don't get caught by surprise. So, alright, I'll give Grognan her perception check. And this is opposed by their stealth, which is 14. So I succeeded by a margin of 2. They succeeded by a margin of 0. So I do happen to notice the little shift of movement as they prepare their bows. And that's going to be enough to nullify surprise on both sides, and now we just go into an encounter at this stage. I gotta have an image for something here. Okay. So now we can just roll initiative. And Bertrice is in here, so she'll roll initiative. Success. Okay. It says that the river can be crossed easily. The stream is 2 feet deep, cold and slow, but not difficult to wade across. So I think Grognan could make it here in one go and swing battle axe at this piece of shit. Missing wildly. Probably should have raged, but it wouldn't have made a difference. That's that. Then Bertrice. I can shoot through the thicket, but they will get +4 to their AC. So it'll be like trying to hit an AC of 15. The odds are not great there. I can move about 30 feet. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You know, I can get about there. Honestly, I don't think I have much of a shot here. So we're going to go ahead and move the rest of the way. I feel like, though, I don't know, I feel like these goblins would be more on edge and more likely to try to run into the cave. Considering this all just happened to them. But, I don't know, maybe goblins are dumb, right? Maybe they'll be confident. I think they're both gonna drop bows and go club Grognan, because they get a +1 on their melee attacks here. So first one, hit. Second one, miss. So first one hits for 2 damage. And we'll do a minor exploit, I suppose. They don't really want to do any opposed dex, or opposed strength. So, pocket sand, I suppose. They rolled a failure of 3, and Grognan failed by 10. So pocket sand is applied. 33% miss chance. New initiative. Terrible failure. Okay. Would they try to capitalize on pocket sand to try to run in? No. I'll be nice to myself, because I would try to be nice to players here. It's already a pretty rough situation. And I'm already doing quite a bit of a challenge run, so they'll just try to keep hitting her with their +1 here. It's another hit and another miss, so another hit for 1 damage. They're not doing a whole lot of damage, but they're working it. Now I guess they'll try to trip. Try to get her on the ground. So they'll try for the opposed strength, but it probably won't work. No, they succeeded by 1. Not good enough, though. Grognon holds her ground. Okay, Grognon now is pissed and gonna swing at this stupid little goblin. 33% miss chance. We're fine. And a swing and a hit. That is not a kill, though. They have 5 HP, as we decided. Unless I want to rage as part of this. Fuck it. Rage. Rage! In order to get an extra 2 damage. I don't know if that's technically allowed after you roll, but I don't see why not. It's only 2 extra damage. And, you know, it's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I'd allow it. It's fine. I'm allowing it. So that would kill that one. I could now attempt a major exploit to keep swinging and cleave. And I think we want to, because otherwise we have a repeat of what happened before. So let's do a luck strength save check here. Fucking terrible failure. I'm gonna burn the reroll. There we go. Now we're talking. So now we're gonna roll damage again. With +2. Oh, jeez. We got a natural 19 effect on top of it. I wasn't requiring an attack roll there, but it's all good. Cleave all the way through 180 degrees and just... Goblin's dead. And we haven't made enough of a ruckus. We're outside the cave. The river is kind of noisy, so... Yeah, we're okay this time. That's what was supposed to happen last time. I will take my 1 XP again. And we will short rest. Okay, we got 1 success from Grognon. I'm gonna get Rage back, because I believe in it. I probably should be using that to get reroll back, but we'll roll with it. Bertrice didn't do a single thing, so doesn't matter. Alright, similar situation to last time, except now we you know, these characters still don't know what's in there, but they know this is a goblin cave. They know there's goblins afoot. They don't know how many, but they trust that they have the element of surprise here, so there's going to be stealth. We'll have both of them stealth, I suppose. Although the problem with that is that it becomes a group check. And basically, they either both have to succeed or one person has to get a great success. And the other person can't get a terrible failure. Whereas if it's just one person, they just have to get a success. But they're both reasonably stealthy, I guess. It's possible. It's possible. Alright, it's possible. We'll have them stealth together. They're a duo. So, Grognon going first here with a +1 from stealth. Terrible failure. Perfect. Well, that already kind of fucks it. Pretty completely. Great success. Okay, so it sort of cancels each other out. But remember, this is supposed to be opposed by a perception. The thing is, nothing really sees them until they get up here, and before then, they'll see the wolves in the kennel. And the wolves in the kennel pretty much see them regardless, so it's not really much of a factor. So they stop here, they see the wolves in the kennel. And let's actually try to quiet them down now, because we're trying to be stealthy. So let's try to do an animal lore here, and that's going to fall on Bertrice to be animal lore-y. Although, it's funny because it falls under charisma, I think, rather than intelligence. And her charisma is dog shit. It does say you could use food to make it easier. So I would say if we give up a ration, which I will, I'd give advantage on the roll. So let's roll +1 for animal lore, advantage. Still a terrible failure. Okay, we will use a reroll, which does not reroll both. That only rerolls one, so it's still very unlikely. Jesus. Fucking dice rolls, man. Fucking dice rolls every time. Why do I keep playing D20 games? Goblins in nearby caves normally ignore the sounds of growling wolves, but if the characters fight the wolves, 1d4 goblins come to investigate in 2 rounds. Okay, so basically, I mean, I got terrible failure, which should have pretty strong consequences. But basically, they start, like, kind of barking, I guess. We don't move enough into the room. They do eat the rations, I suppose, but they're still, like, growling at us, and, like, you know, they clearly don't want anything to do with us. And we can tell that if we take another step into the room, they're gonna try and rip our heads off. So it's just a no-go, and no amount of supplication is gonna help at this point. But they don't break free of the chains or anything. And it's not quite enough to alert the goblins. Because the ration did help alleviate some stuff. Without that, if we'd gotten a terrible failure, then they probably would be barking or, you know, really kind of making a lot of noise. So it's just a no-go, and we can kind of see around the bend. Well, we can see that it curves up that way. We don't have any lights. We can see that this place is not lit. So it's kind of questionable. So this is going to come down to stealthing forward. Opposed by this lookout's perception. And it's not going to be great. But yeah, we're going to have to roll our stealth again. So here we go. Great success. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm actually thinking about how I would do this though, because this is a group check and an opposed check. I don't think that's how it should ever work. Yeah, actually, for some reason, I haven't come across this situation. Do I make this a group check? Or do I make it an opposed check? Or do I make it a representative check and an opposed check? Like, we have one person that represents our stealth. I mean, that doesn't really make much sense. Because usually representative checks are for the DM, to simplify things. So you have, like, a group of enemies, and one of them, you roll for one of them for, like, perception, to account for the whole group. That's usually what a representative check does. The players don't ever make representative checks. They make group checks. But I guess you can combine it. You can combine it. Basically, we just... Well, no, you can't really, because the group check, the whole point is based on success. Well, okay, so I guess we're basically setting the degree of... The success factor is based on the margin of success. So I should have rolled the goblin's perception. Okay, so he got a margin of, I think, 3. I believe. Perceptional. Yeah, so you got a margin of 3. Grognan got 7, so he definitely succeeded. And then Bertrice, Dex, also. Okay, so we both definitely succeeded. There's no doubt about this. No matter how you want to cut it, we succeeded. So we do stealth. And the goblin just kind of already is getting distracted and doesn't notice. And we're really clinging to the wall here. The sound of the water covering our footsteps. We're in the darkness, although that's not really that big of a factor because he has infravision. So it's more he's kind of already a little distracted. He is the last archer remaining of the group. So, we, at this point, notice him. I mean, we can kind of hear his feet on the bridge, the creaking wood, and a little bit. We can kind of make out a vague outline. So, if we were bold, we could try and snipe him. I would give advantage on the roll, because we are kind of surprising him. But I would include the 33% mischance due to him being just an outline of a goblin. But if we landed a crossbow shot on him, I mean, that would be handy. That would solve definitely some problems. So, fuck it. Let's go with fuck it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be big and dumb and stupid. Alright, so let's do the flat roll chance. Don't roll a 1 or a 2. Excellent. And now we're gonna roll our crossbow attack. And this is going to be with advantage. 15 is a hit, 7 damage is a kill, so we snipe him right through the neck, and his body kind of slumps onto the bridge, dead. Excellent! Dice! Yeah! Awesome. That affords us quite a bit of freedom now, because we can see that this path continues further up. We can see the kind of rubble to the left if we wanted to go that way. We can probably make out light coming from the top there, whereas up this way we don't really see any more light. So we might decide then to go towards the light, since we're heading into further darkness. That is quite questionable. I could see that. I'm going to agree with myself. So we're going to go for the light. And we're going to climb up here. Now, we know that this is unstable. So anytime a character on ledge tries to move in this space, you have to make the acrobatics check or trigger a collapse, which would really throw things off. So hopefully that doesn't happen. That seems a little harsh. I might allow like a perception check, like a detection thing, to see that it's unstable. And then, you know, we're moving pretty cautiously. I feel like that should count only if you're in combat on the ledge, like fighting the snake, or if you're trying to rush up. I think if you're moving pretty slowly and stealthily and carefully, I don't know if I'd really count it. And I don't think it's in the original, to be honest. I don't remember that. So I'm gonna say we notice that it's unstable and we're very cautious and very careful. And we kind of get up to this ledge and we can look in. Okay, so remember, there were 9 goblins inside, and we just killed 1, the last archer. So there's 8 goblins left, not counting the final room. There's also the 2 wolves, although one of them is quite injured, but I think they probably swapped that out. So there's still 2 full health wolves, we'll say. So the goblin den has 5 goblins and 2 goblin bosses. I don't know if I'm making a differentiation there. And then there's 3 goblins and 2 wolves in the other cave here. So that's 10 total. They're down 3 from that number. No, well, really, they're down like 2 from that number. We'll keep the 3 goblins and 2 wolves over on the other side. We'll just limit who's in this den over here. So we'll cut the 2 goblin bosses. Fine. So there's 5 goblins here. There, something like that. That's what we see. Okay, there is smoke, presumably. They have campfires lit. So I could try and scare them by weaving the smoke into a shape. It's an iffy plan, I'll admit. Yeah, I don't doubt that I could do it. Like, I could sit here, I can see the smoke, I'm pretty sure the range is good enough. It was like 180 feet or something, so I could weave the smoke without being noticed, and I could weave it into some shape. But I don't know what I could really do. I could maybe then attempt some sort of ventriloquism act, like Grognan maybe could attempt some sort of ventriloquism to try and intimidate them with some smoke demon. And maybe convince them to flee for their lives. It's kind of a fun plan. It's kind of the thing that I would think of when I was playing normally an attempt, just because I find it fun. Usually when we do these solo things, I think very pragmatically, very mechanically, just of death and destruction. But it is definitely a sort of plan I would try and think of and enact. And we have weave smoke, and we're looking for uses for it, so why not? Let's attempt it. Let's attempt it. So, first we have to make our spellcasting check. We have to spend our spellcraft, no matter what. And then we have to make the arcane lore roll. +1. Success. Good. So the spell goes off without a problem, and we start weaving all the smoke kind of billowing out of those campfires and on the ceiling and stuff. I assume there's a hole or something that exits out of, but we start gathering up all the smoke, and, you know, we whisper our incantation, and we weave it into some big sort of demonic figure. And now Grognan is going to attempt ventriloquism. Now, like, D&D has like a performance skill. I think it would come down mostly to just, like, charisma or something, even though I think it's fairly vague. Yeah, it's really hard to say what it would be. I think charisma's just the easiest one to kind of point to, but I could also see an argument for Dex. I don't know. It would depend on the player and kind of what they're trying to argue for. I'd be fairly flexible between charisma and Dex, but I don't know if I'd allow much else. Maybe intelligence, but yeah, this is probably going to be a charisma check. And I don't think I have a skill for this or anything. The ventriloquism skill. If you were constantly doing ventriloquism, maybe I'd add it. Or if you wanted to spend, like, your downtime, like, I really want to just get good at ventriloquism. And like, all right, sure, you can develop it as a skill. You know, it's a flexible enough system, but let's assume that Grognan does not have a lot of experience doing ventriloquism. and is going to just try this. So let's just roll a charisma. Great success! Yes! Excellent. Okay. Very good. The great success is a factor here, I think. And I think it's overall an impressive kind of effect to these goblins who are already a little on edge from the rest of the day. So basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to force a morale check for all 5 of them, like individually. And because I got a great success on the ventriloquism and everything, I'm going to make the roll at disadvantage. So basically, they have to roll twice each, and they have to get 8 or under in order to stand their ground and confront this bullshit. There probably should be like a intelligence check or something like that, but I'm playing it up I'm 2 things really. I'm trying to be a fan of the players, and it's a fun idea, it's a decent plan and all that, and it involved a couple steps that had to go right in order for it to work, and I'm spending a spell casting to do it and all that. So I'm trying to be a fan of the players, which in this case is myself, I'm aware. But also, I don't think goblins are that intelligent, so they're just kind of panicking a little bit. So let's do... yeah, we'll just do this individually. It's going to be a lot of rolls. So we'll just roll for the first guy, disadvantage. He definitely failed. The second one, disadvantage. He actually succeeds. He rolled an 8, so he got it. Third one, failed. Fourth one, actually succeeds. Wow. And the fifth one definitely failed. Okay, so 3 of them panic. And they're going to run out of the building. Run out of the cave. All the goblins are trained and know to never go down this passageway because of the giant snake. And they probably don't even know that it's dead at this point. So they just would never think to go down there. So they're going to run through, and they're running along here. And I think they wouldn't drop down or anything. They would go in the normal thing, and they're gonna scream and like, "Run for your lives! There's a smoke demon!" You know, and these are gonna be on edge. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck, smoke demon? Oh god." They're gonna be definitely unsure about the situation, but we're gonna just remove 3 of these from the situation. These other 2 are gonna be like backed up and be like, "Oh fuck, you know, what is this thing?" They're very much on edge, but they're holding their ground. Maybe they think this maybe they start to see it for what it is, that it's not quite maybe a smoke demon or something. You know, they're not sure, but they're holding their ground. This is their home. So now at this point, we're going to slip up here. I'm going to roll 1 more stealth as a group check. Bertrice got a success of 1. Grognin gets a success. Oh, God, terrible failure. So that's a huge failure. Which pretty much guarantees that we failed this. There's not really any coming back from that. He failed by a margin of 9. And they're going to roll, and they fail by 5. Yeah, no matter what way you cut it, Brognan failed big. And Bertrice did not succeed by much. So we're going to count that as a failure, so they do see us get up, and now we're going to roll initiative. Alright, good. So Bertrice reloaded her crossbow already, so she's just going to immediately fire at this guy. Standard crossbow shot. Big miss. That is what it is. Grognan will rush in and try and butcher this guy down before he can do anything. Big miss. Awesome. Dice rolls again. Yeah, I love dice rolls all the time. And I keep neglecting to rage. No. I mean, you can't... I don't think you can really rage after the fact. I shouldn't have done it for the damage before. I wouldn't really allow it. I changed my mind. Yeah, you really shouldn't. All right. They're gonna go. Would they fight? Would they fight? They're on edge from the smoke demon already. They got this big barbarian in their face, you know. They're being attacked for the second time today, and they don't know what's going on. I think I'm going to do another morale roll for them. Not with disadvantage, just normal. First one fails, second one fails. All right, they're both going to fail. So they're both going to run. So this guy's going to try and get out of there. He gets an op. That is a kill right there. Boom. This one running, though, he's not going to take an op. He avoids that. There is the intercept rule, but I don't think you can intercept if you've already taken your turn. Or it's at disadvantage or something. If a character is not surprised, not in melee, hasn't moved this turn, and an enemy wishes to move within close range, character may attempt an intercept. Yeah, I wouldn't... Yeah. I mean, technically, Bertrice has not moved. So Bertrice is already kind of blocking the path. I don't know if an intercept check is really required here, but I could see an argument from a player that said they kind of want to just specifically block this goblin from running, in which case I'd probably do an opposed dex check to try to body block him a little bit. Because Bertrice is not going to get an op, and if she fails, this guy is going to run all the way to the bridge for sure. So let's do an opposed dex check. She got a terrible failure. There's nothing really she can do about it. So this guy's going to run all the way. He's gone. He's very slippery. Okay. Yeah, I mean he's out of the picture really, and we're not going to chase after him because that would be dumb. We want to stay where it's light because that's valuable to us. Okay, combat's over. Do we count that as a significant combat? I think when combined with the Smoke Demon plan, where we eliminated multiple goblins, I would say yes. And I'd probably give a bonus XP for creative thinking, because I like to encourage that, because I have very uncreative players. So I'm going to give 2 XP for that whole encounter. Alright, so then we can kind of hear goblin voices echoing throughout the cave somewhere to the east where he ran. So we know that there's probably more goblins coming, but we can see there's a guy tied up here. So we're going to quickly run up here and untie him. And that is Sildar, finally rescued. He has 1 hit point. He's in rough shape, but he can walk. He offers to pay the party 50 gold pieces to escort him to Phandelver. It's like, well, fuck yeah, dude. We'll get you to Phandelver, no problem. He's got no gear of any kind. But, there are some dead goblins, so he can grab a club. And I could borrow him Grognon's shortbow, I suppose. Alright, I'll borrow him Grognon's shortbow, but hopefully we won't get into combat at all. Because we're going to try to slip out of here for now. So, the three of us then are going to carefully go back down this thing. We can see that it's unstable. Yeah, and we'll go Sildar. We'll put Sildar in the middle of us as we try and get out of here. And at this point, we probably like hear and see goblins like running over the bridge, and they would see us definitely leaving. We're not stealthy or anything, so they're shouting at us in Goblin, but none of them have any ranged weapons. We solved that problem. So they're going to chase us out for sure. But remember what I said, they're not going to leave the cave. That's really just suicide to them at this point. They have no idea. There could be a whole army out there for all they know. And they've suffered a lot of losses. So they're not going to leave the cave. And as I said, they don't really care about Sildar living or dying. Otherwise, they would have just killed him or something. And I don't know what value he has to them. So, yeah, I think we're going to escape with Sildar. But, you know, we still didn't solve the problem that well. I'm going to give myself an XP for rescuing Sildar successfully. But, yeah, we're not done with the goblins, and I want to finish out the cave. But it's funny, like, how different this is. Like, if you run this with D&D 5th edition with, like, a party of, like, 5 characters, it's really pretty much just, let's walk in and just kill all these stupid goblins, you know, and you just get into a few fights and that's it. Here, it's like, holy shit. I mean, we already lost our last party. We're surviving by the skin of our teeth. We got to retreat all the time. We got to use clever tricks. I mean, this is OSR shit. And this is really why I wanted to do this, is that I, you know, yeah, Lost Mine of Phandelver written for 5th edition D&D and kind of brain dead starter set and stuff, but you can turn all these interesting situations into cool gameplay that's drastically different. So, yeah. The problem is, Tales of Argosa, like, I want my spell back. Can I short rest now, once we get out of the cave? Would a DM allow that? Would I allow that? Yeah, I'd probably say so. I don't know. I don't know where it stipulates that it has to be immediately after the battle ends. I mean, I don't think you can short rest like an hour later or something. But I would say a few minutes later is probably acceptable. I don't know. Does it say at any point? After a significant combat. That's all it says. A character may spend a few minutes to recover and tend injuries before pressing on. This process is often a stationary one, but walking or easy riding is permitted. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little flexible. Again, I wouldn't allow it like an hour later or something. But I think generally I would say any significant combat you do does earn you a short rest. Unless it's a very hectic situation that's like prolonged and you're just like, and you get into another fight or something. The whole point is that it does take a few minutes of just non-pressure at some point to recover. So I would allow a short rest once we get out of there and back into the woods. So let's have Grognan roll. I have a cat in the way. Double failure. Awesome. This is everything that I love in life. So Grognan's still pretty fucked. And Bertrice, short rest. Well, we got one great success. I think that's all we need, though, to get my spellcasting back. So that's good. Okay, right. Well, we're gonna leave it off there. This has been long enough now. now the video's long enough. Pretty good, though. I feel relatively positive about this. Oh, let me do my ammo roll for crossbows. We definitely use that. All right, we're still good. I mean, we're really not in that bad of a position. to keep going. The only problem is that Grognan doesn't have any rerolls and is down a few hit points. But I think we would take the time to escort Sildar to Phandelver. This is a very dangerous region, very dangerous time to live. So he's at 1 HP. We can tell he's on death's door. We're not going to muck about and try and finish this while he's still at 1 HP. So ideally, he would join us to finish the job here after he recovers. But based on, like, if we use Tales of Argosa resting, he's going to have to rest for a week to recover. And I think I'd probably abide by that. So we probably want to attack and finish this sooner than a week. But we do want to get to Phandelver, which is not not super close, actually. Oh, I lost my map. Hold on. There we go. So it's not super close. We're here. So that's 6, 12, however you want to differentiate that. I don't know the distance of a short line of a hex. But yeah, I mean, it's probably like 24 miles. It's probably a day away. So I'm going to have to do a random encounter roll on the way back. And we'll get back pretty late at night because it was like 3 p.m. already. So we're going to walk through the night and hope nothing happens. But let's roll. Okay, we're okay. All right, we'll say we get back. It's fine. We get to Phandelver late at night, like 11 p.m. And we are safe and secure. And he's going to pay us 50 gold pieces for bringing him back safely. So that's pretty great. I'd probably throw in an extra XP for that. For the fact that it's 50 gold, and yeah, we'll have Bertrice be the money manager. Excellent. Okay. So now, yeah, we might be able to hire somebody in town, a hired sword to help us out, which would be a pretty big thing. But either way, I mean, I think we probably can finish the Goblin Cave ourselves. I would hope so. Otherwise, this is really going to be rough. But yeah, I think it's good. All right. My name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging, Phandelver and Below with Tales of Argosa. And I'll see you fine folks in the next part.